you've nothing to do with the bloody occasion.
9:05, that is cue for the quick picks. Aisling, good morning to you.
Good morning, Adrian. How are you?
Good. Tommy, how are you getting on?
Morning, folks. How are we all?
The big guns are back. What's happening? We all pumped for the weekend. What are we calling it? Wonderful weekend. We should come up with some sort of marketing slogan right here.
The big guns are back, I think, is probably the marketing slogan, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who are the big guns?
Tommy's.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. If I appear
Tommy.
distracted, over the next half an hour, it's because I'm trying to get tickets to Bruce anywhere in the world. I'm kicking myself. Slept in this morning.
You're trying to get them anywhere in the world?
I'll go to see him in Rome, Barcelona, Amsterdam, wherever.
Cheaper in Dublin, at least. Well, Tommy, did you know that... which would you be more willing to pay €130 for? A Bruce Springsteen ticket or one of Adrian Barry's cheese boards? Because that's what a commentator was getting in this morning, that they're roughly around the same price.
Oh.
They wouldn't be around the same price at all.
I wouldn't really have to think about that, Owen. It'd be Bruce Springsteen.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
I should get
But I'm a big Bruce Springsteen fan, you know. Like, there's other people that might go for the cheese board. You know, other people of Adrian's own standard of person, you know. Somebody be
what we're talking about. One thing that I'm really surprised about is, like, Tommy is such a theatre buff, like a gore. He's cultured. This sort of concert, like rock concert stuff, doesn't really fit with the persona.
With the GAA persona.
Well, I think Bruce probably fits in perfectly with the GAA persona. Everybody listening to the quick picks would be insulted by any Bruce Springsteen slander this
To be
morning.
fair, they'll also be saying, would you get on with it? So we'll do that. I don't know, have we got a leaderboard? We have a leaderboard.
Oh,
and
I've never
still
seen it.
Tommy. Let's not linger on that too much. Tommy's
Tommy's got an asterisk beside him because he didn't do one of the really hard weeks.
exactly, which means he should really just
Doesn't
tuck
count.
in there at the bottom on. You're absolutely right.
If Tommy gets passed out this year by anybody, it will be a humiliation for him.
There's an asterisk beside Dublin's name in 2020 when they won the COVID on Ireland. I don't think they'll care about that.
Well, there's an asterisk beside me than whatever year it was too when they threw the ball over the line. So listen, that's, you know.
Still talking about
exactly.
Let's not get into that.
We don't care about that.
Right, Ulster final first up, and wow, we have three. Did I go for Derry? I definitely meant to go for Donegal.
Look at him scurrying away from the ship.
No, I definitely. I mean, I need to check back in my emails, but I definitely meant to say Donegal. So I have
three
no.
Derry.
It's really 3 Donegal. Am I allowed
You
to
want
change
to change
that?
yours?
No,
Well,
if
it's
your
not- it's
email...
not- I'm not
hold on a
changing it.
second. Hold on a second. If your email says...
Well, I can
If your
double check
email
that
says
while flash it up
Donegal.
there again till we see exactly.
Yeah, can I just ask a question? Like, Tommy, you weren't on.
No, I went for Donegal. I can confirm I went for Donegal.
You weren't
Okay,
on.
well then.
Tommy, you weren't on the quick picks when we did the preview for the Derry Monaghan game, and I was wondering why you had jumped ship on Derry, and you stayed off the ship even though you were the one to tip Derry against Tyrone. So what's happened here? Why have you lost consistency in your belief in Derry?
I thought Derry had Tyrone in their crosshairs for months and months and months. And I think I put too much stock in Monaghan. And Monaghan's where Monaghan were at. I thought Monaghan were primed for Ulster this year. I thought Derry were maybe another year away. I think this Derry team, there's no ceiling on where they can go. I just think they're not at their gym in 2011. Do you know? They're Donegal in 2011. They're another year off.
Can I throw it out to you, Tommy, that they'd caught a bad Tyrone team at a low ebb, and Monaghan kicked a scatter of wides, missed a load of chances. A couple of those go the right way, and it's a very different conversation.
Oh, I think that's true. I think when Monaghan put the squeeze on Derry, I was surprised watching that game back because I didn't see it live. I watched it back twice. I was surprised that Monaghan didn't catch Derry really in that second half. Now, that's not saying that I don't think this game is going to go down to the wire. I think there's going to be a point in this either way. Maybe 2 points. I think Donegal are just going to have a bit too much this time around. I don't know. I'm finding myself doubting myself when I say it. I just think Langan. I think Langan and Thompson are going to make a difference this weekend. They weren't great the last day out against Cavan. They weren't there last year against Derry. I think one of them was missing against Derry when it went down to the wire. I think Langan and Thompson are going to make a big difference this weekend.
I was at the Monaghan Derry game and I was so impressed with Derry defensively, how they just frustrated them. Like, we're talking about them not taking those chances, but they didn't get those chances because they were so frustrated. There was always 3-4 men around one, and it was very tough for Monaghan to play the way they wanted to play because they weren't allowed to play that way. So I do believe, I don't think this is in any way a flash in the pan for Derry. And we seen them coming last year. We all talked about it last year against Donegal, 15 points to 16 in Ballybuffet. And that was when everyone took notice. And now we're seeing they've bet the reigning All-Ireland champions. They've bet Monaghan, who Monaghan have been brilliant all year. So I don't think that in any way we should be saying that, oh, you know, they just didn't take their chances, or, you know, it was not a Monaghan team at their best, or it wasn't a Tyrone team that are fully there at the moment, which they're not. But they have bet two good teams, and they bet them comfortably, you know, they really have. So I would back them the whole way, to be honest. I think that they're going to beat Donegal. I do think it's going to be tough for Donegal. I do think they'll put up a huge fight. It's massive for Declan Bonner. He needs this big win.
It's their last chance. Ashton, it's Donegal's last chance.
I love Declan Bonner.
How many last chances have they had though? Like
But this is it, Owen. This is their
Declan Bonner's
last
chance. Yeah.
I'm with Aisling on this one. I'm absolutely buying the hype on Derry this year, and you're right. It has been building for a while, but it feels like a 5-year plan that has just sparked into an overnight success. That we know what's gone on under the surface, but what we've seen above the surface is just an explosion into life. And we know it's a lot more than that. I think the comparisons with the Jim McGuinness Donegal era are very, very interesting, because that's what I'm feeling when I'm looking at this Donegal, or this Derry team at the moment, is that I'm seeing that Jim McGuinness era Donegal, the celebrations from Rory Gallagher, the passion on the pitch from the players. It just speaks to me that we're seeing a team that is destined for great things. I'm not sure it's going to lead to an All-Ireland, but I think it's going to lead to an Ulster title this weekend. I think that if you look at some of the players that they have, these are not players that are overachieving. These are players in a number of positions that could arguably be some of the best players in their position in the country. Like if you see the likes of Rogers, McCaig, Glass, McKinless, McGuigan all getting All-Stars this year, you'd be like, fair enough. Like this isn't like some sort of flash in the pan where a team just comes out of nowhere and has one great year. It's like, fair enough, those 5 players in particular could be in the conversation for 5 of the best players in their position in the country. So this is the standard we're basing it off. And on your point, Adrian, about, you know, the bounce of a ball going a different way in the Monaghan game in particular, you could say that about pretty much all of Donegal's games in 2012. The goal they scored against Kerry, fluky. The goals against Mayo, particularly the first one. There is
the first one against Mayo was not a fluke. What are you talking about? It's one of the great All-Ireland goals ever.
Maybe it was maybe not a fluke.
Lacey to Murphy back in.
What happened in the second one?
Talking about fluke. Second one, McFadden buries it. Like, it's not a fluke. Like, it was a bit of tactical genius. They targeted an area of Mayo's defence that they thought, right, we're going to get him here.
I think a lot of Mayo people would say that those goals were preventable. But my point, Tommy, is that
there weren't flukes.
My point is this: is that you can make a case of what if a team had done something better against that Donegal team. Yeah. What if they had been better under the high ball, is my point. And it's like, well, they weren't. And Donegal won the All-Ireland. And I think the same can be said for Derry over the last couple of weeks. The what ifs around Monaghan, they didn't do it. Derry did it. Derry were the ones who buried their goal opportunities. Derry were the team who took their scoring opportunities. And that for me is the comparison between themselves and Donegal over the course of 2012, is that Donegal took their opportunities, and you could have no complaints when you come away from that year. And Jim McGuinness and that team are All-Ireland winners. So I apologise, Tommy, I clearly have offended you quite a bit there. Not a fluke.
I just love that Murphy. I just love that Murphy goal. It's one of my favourite All-Ireland goals.
But like, I just think those comparisons are really interesting, and I'm getting the same feeling off this Derry team as I did in Donegal in 2012. So I mean it as a compliment, Tommy.
And you can feel it. Like when I was there at the Monaghan game, you can feel the passion, you can feel there's something brewing. Speaking to the players, they buy into it big time. You know, they're buzzing. And the likes of Garrett McKinless, what a player. He is that link man from defence to attack, and he's scoring goals, he's scoring points, but he's setting people up as well. And it's straight from the training pitch stuff. So everything is coming straight. It's no flukes in it whatsoever, you know, I don't think. And they take every chance as well.
I don't think there's any flukes in it either. I just think that Donegal have a sting in them. I think when Owen lists out the Derry players there that could be the best in the country, you're looking at Patton, Murphy, Bon Gallagher, McHugh, McBrearty. Donegal have it on the same side. This is going to be a cracking game of football. It's going to go down to the wire. I wouldn't be disappointed if Derry were to win. I really wouldn't, because I think they're going to have a say in the championship. Even if they lose, I just think Donegal, I've backed them a few times. They're not going to let me down this time.
That's the reason, Tommy. I just think there's so much validity in Aisling. You've seen a lot of them up close, and that cannot be discounted. But
who are you going for?
I'm going for Donegal. That was written on the email, and I'm absolutely going for Donegal. I just think that there's probably a lot in what Owen was saying about a coming team, but I just don't think we've seen enough evidence of them playing enough against enough quality yet. And even Aisling's point about McKinless, I know Eamon Fitzmaurice was talking during the week about the space that Derry team were given down through the middle and the counter-attack particularly. Donegal are not going to allow that. They're just not, because of the team that they are and because they'll have seen it happen in the previous matches. So that's why I'm leaning for Donegal. That's the Ulster final. Let's get into the Connacht final. And again, we have a split jury here. We have Adrian, Aisling, Owen, all Galway, and then we Will and Tommy, who are back in the Rossies. It's the hardest one to call, isn't it, Tommy?
Oh, is it the hard? Yeah, they're both tight games. Derry Donegal, Galway Roscommon are tight games, Adrian. I think, they're tough to call. They're really tough to call. I think this one's going to be a shootout. I just don't think either side have been fully tested this year. You know, Division 2, Galway looked like they were world beaters at times in Division 2. Then they seemed to taper off a little bit towards the league final. They seemed to have their eye on Mayo. They did the job against Mayo, but they just about got over the line. So hard to know where Roscommon are at. They're up and down from Division 1, Division 2. I think there's something in Roscommon when it gets to a Connacht final that they really believe in themselves. And I think Roscommon, not trying to be insulting here, but I just think that similar to where Derry are at, I think the provincial final for them is in All-Ireland at the moment. Same with Monaghan. I just think those counties at the minute, it's just a huge target for them at the start of every year. So I think they really back themselves when they get to this stage. Right. Whereas with Galway, there's a very good chance that you might have an eye elsewhere, or you might get distracted a wee bit. I don't know. I just think I'm going to go with the Rossies here.
It's whether you put more. The question here is whether you put more stock into the 2 league wins, whereas Roscommon beat Galway, or Galway beating Mayo, and I'm going with the latter.
Yeah, that's fair.
This is it, because we're looking at those 2 league games, but it is league at the end of the day. I know one was the Division 2 final, but the likes of Shane Walsh only came off the bench in the last few minutes of that game. They weren't at full tilt. So I think after the Mayo game in Castlebar, they're still on a high from that game, and this is their best chance of going to win a Connacht championship. Porrick Joyce is 3 years in now. He is no silverware. He hasn't had a big moment yet. The big moment, I suppose, was against Mayo, but now this is the next big moment, and this is their chance to get this silverware, and I think they'll be absolutely gunning for it. I do rate Roscommon. They're a brilliant team, but I think when the likes of Paul Connery midfield, he's unbelievable when he gets going. Shane Walsh, Damien Comer, the likes, it's tough to stop. So I'm going to stick with Galway.
I think Galway, to an extent, haven't been given any credit, including ourselves. I think Mayo are still ahead of them in the power rankings, for example. Just the cursory mention of that.
That's a big thing.
And I think that speaks to the fact that maybe we're still kind of holding our horses a little bit, because, as you say, Aisling, it felt like Mayo was the final, and that's not a criticism of Galway at all. That was a massive game. That was one of the biggest games of the championship so far. Galway against Mayo is always going to be that way, but Roscommon have been waiting in the long grass. Again, I've backed Galway, so what am I talking about here? I just think that league final, and especially the game before that in the league, I don't think we can read too much into it. As you say, Shane Walsh coming in late into that game, and Galway, I don't know, they just seem to concede these wide open spaces where all of the Roscommon forwards caused wreck. Every single one of them had a fantastic day at the office that day. I can't see all of those Roscommon forwards having such a good day this week. And if they manage to limit that to 3 of the Roscommon forwards as opposed to 6 this time, I think Galway win this game.
I think it's Galway's. I also think that it's sort of now or never almost for that Roscommon team, just given the momentum that they have behind them in terms of the league, the Galway results, the under-20s. It might be a very different scenario for them in 12 months' time. So that's that one. We're moving into the Tailteann Cup now, and we're going to kick off here with Cavan Down. I mean, there's no discussion to be had here. I think if Cavan come close to the performance they put up against Donegal, they get through that easy enough. And we've all gone for Cavan, so let's not linger on it. Leitrim.
Has Aisling O'Reilly gone for Cavan?
Absolutely.
That is surprising.
Downer in an awful situation, let's not lie.
Tommy
better than
double
anybody.
bluff here.
Let's linger on down here for a few minutes. Oh, when you're joking, okay, keep going.
No, there's no conversation to be had. They're in dire straits at the minute. I think every person in Down will tell you that, and hopefully next year we'll see a bit of a difference there. But it's sad to see that it's gone that way. I think James McCartan's he is a great manager. He deserves a lot more respect, and I think that we'll see a big change. I think hopefully come next year we have to. But no conversation really against Cavan. I don't think so.
Leitrim Antrim. It is Antrim across the board here.
Ooh.
Aisling?
Oh, I'm surprised with that.
Lead
I
us
went
off
back
on
and
that.
forth on this one. I wasn't sure, to be honest. I think Leitrim at home and Antrim, they don't travel too well, if I remember correctly. I don't ever remember them travelling really well. So, I was saying Leitrim, and then I went back to Antrim again. I don't think there's going to be much in it. I think it could go down to the wire. But for me, I just about called Antrim. But it was a close call. Was it a close call for you?
Yeah, there's nothing in it.
Yeah, kind of. Like, I think the venue was the thing that was kind of making me sweat a little bit over this, but they were in different positions as teams. Like, it wouldn't have taken a whole pile of results to go different ways for Antrim to be in the mix out of promotion for Division 3. So, like, I think that probably says where they're at compared to Leitrim at the moment. So they are in different places, I feel. But the fact that the game's on in Carrick and Shannon, the fact that Antrim took bit of a hammering. I know Leitrim conceded 4 goals and 20 points against Galway, but the hammering Antrim took was severe as well. I don't know, I feel that there's like a lot of intangibles that I'm pointing towards here where I was a little bit nervous, but I think the fact that we've all gone for Antrim probably speaks to the difference that we saw in the league, at least, and the difference in class.
Tommy's like throwing Antrim out here, and then listen to the football pod during the week. He's going from Leitrim over there, so he'd be going for a draw somewhere else when he's on another.
Well, no. Well, James and Paddy both went for Leitrim, and I didn't want to give them the kiss of death. Anytime the three of us have gone for one team, we were getting abused saying, "Why on earth did you do that?" I think Offaly lost, the Kildare 20s lost. There's been 2 other teams that have blamed us essentially for all backing them at once. So I had to think about this one. I actually said Antrim will win after extra time. I think Carrick and Shannon's going to be rocking on Sunday. It's actually probably the most interesting Tailteann Cup tie that we've had yet. 2 teams that aren't that exposed to playing each other. 2 young management teams, with a bit of a groove and a bit of momentum behind them. I think it's going to be really exciting down in Carrick and Shannon. And I wouldn't be surprised if it went down to extra time. Wouldn't be surprised if Leitrim won it. I'm surprised that everyone's going for Antrim. I'm surprised, like Antrim are 4-7 on. I'm surprised by that as well. I think it's going to be a lot tighter than that. I just felt like Antrim might just have that extra bit, having played in Division 3 in the last year and competed in Ulster.
Offaly, Wicklow. Let's see if we have any points of difference here. We do. Tommy, you're going Wicklow and everybody else is on Offaly. What are you thinking? You just trying to be contrarian?
No. I'm just not sure I'm buying Offaly. I watched them in the league twice. I watched the game last weekend on GAA Go against Wexford. I thought Wexford should have beaten them. Offaly definitely have some really good young footballers that are coming through. Lee Pearson has been sensational for them this year, but he's probably the only 20 that has actually made an under 20 that has made an impact, the only under 20 All-Ireland winner. Like, McNamee scored 1-5 last week without having the greatest game. Anton Sullivan had a good game. Johnny Maloney had a mighty game in centre back, but I just felt like Wexford still should have beaten them. And I kind of like what I'm seeing with Wicklow. There's a bit of abandon about them this year. Their manager walked away in the league. Alan Costello came in. They had a very good performance against Laois in the championship. Decent win the last day against Waterford. They're getting goals, and I think that might be important this weekend again. And I just think Wicklow are going to get the job done. Kevin Quinn, if he gets a hat-trick again, he scored, I think, 5 or 6 goals in the championship this year. If he gets another hat-trick, they'll definitely beat them. Young full forward, we're keeping an eye on.
I need to get off the bottom of that table. That's Quick Picks. Thanks, folks.